you do any sort of like some of these initiatives, some of the large strategies that you implemented over the years? Any of these that come to mind that you'd like to cite as an example, or is it 100 small things that are done right, which is more important than any silver bullet in the context of ops?
But I think both. The first thing I would say is between four of us co-founders, to begin with, even before we put up the company, we were very clear in terms of our inter se roles, and therefore accountability around it, building of what type of teams we would be building, what kind of businesses what we would be building. So recently I was speaking to my investor and I was telling her, I don't need too many ideators. I own the vision of the company. My co-founders own the mission of the company. I need people who can execute on it. And while executing, I don't want them to run blind. I want them to be thinking how to do it better, how to keep improving it. That was the cultural ethos. So I need a learning organization because I cannot afford, as the CEO of the company, to learn 10 functions at the same time. I have limited amount of time in the day. If I can build a culture where one of my team members can come and educate me, that no, Nitin, this plant is not this, this plant is this. No, Nitin, this, the way you look at a vehicle registration number is this. No, Nitin, Claude can do this. If they can stand up to you and explain to you, even if you have a higher authority on them, your ability to learn from them and therefore building a learning organization becomes extremely important. So I'll start with role clarity at the highest level, vision clarity, mission alignment, and then building a continuous iterative learning process where people can come back. Now, it's not always successful. For example, when I read an interesting paper or interesting piece of work, I share it internally in the group. So I have a WhatsApp group called Gyan. The name of the group is Gyan. No conversations, no ladai jhagda on that group, only sharing of Gyan. I realize that I often share more content on it than the others. And therefore, now I'm making it a part of their appraisal process to say that, did you share the GAN? Now, if it means he's just downloading and sharing, I'm still good with it because some people will end up reading it and it will come up in some of your reviews that somebody has not read it because you'll refer to it and it will not come out. So you have to kind of build pressure to make people learn as well. It's very easy to allow people to go into comfort zones. Now, why do I say this? Because the organizations also go into comfort zones. And you would have seen so many examples of people with successful technologies and products becoming obsolete over a period of time. The last thing I would like to have is obsolescence. I'm building it for 20 years and an institution to last beyond me.
Got it. Got it. As a segue into maybe just the next part, and before we do that, I think one of the things you mentioned in the last few minutes as we spoke about artificial intelligence, you just mentioned Claude in the last couple of minutes. We've been discussing people, we've been discussing processes. Would also love to know a little bit about the role that data, product, technology, these things play in helping you or enabling you to drive operations, compliance more efficiently and at scale. How do people and technology sort of come together to provide a combined capability that's like more superior than anyone individually? Would love to know what role technology plays in the business that you're building.
Sure. Well, I would say that break it down into three small pieces. And at a motherhood level, I would say without tech, the organizations become obsolete very quickly. And financial services is not a differentiated play. Financial services have been there for last 5,000 years in India, right? And so in the other parts of the world. So what can you potentially do new if something has been there for 5,000 years? And the only new you could do is repackaging and leveraging on tech. I was last night hearing Envision Capital's founder, Nilesh Shah, talking on television about which sectors and segments in the listed markets to look at. Now, Rohit, I know that most of the cream in value creation in these businesses from an investor standpoint is extracted in the private space. When you go in the public space, you're looking at 20-25% kind of growth numbers, and therefore there'll be suboptimal, let me say, returns for the listed market investors unless you ride cycles. So there it's more about industry trends, macros, which starts playing. Now, having said that, he also made that statement that even in that space, the differentiation is how well you use the tech. And then we are a startup. So unless we were using it, it won't make any sense. Now, how did it work for us in three different ways? First is it enabled us. Second, it allowed us to use tech or intelligence where human intelligence can be replicated through machines. So first is pure automation enablement. Second is intelligence. The third is allowing you to innovate and offer new products and services to the customers. Now I'll give one example in each space. When I say automation, we all know that the segment that we serve is extremely difficult to service. And banks want to service it, lenders want to service it, but they find the sourcing of these customers, the underwriting of these customers, collections from these customers very difficult. So how do we make it work for them? So we created a specialized niche enabled machinery, and then we linked them through APIs into our platform. So ASIN is a tech platform which allows the lenders' systems to be assessed and API integrated into our systems. So therefore, they're not seeing the customers, they're actually seeing data. So that is one dimension of it. The second dimension is for the customer, he's used to producing papers and proofs about everything he does. So how do you build surrogates in the business such that you can assess the customer better? And the only way to do it is to figure out patterns in various limited data sets, increase the frequency of the low frequency data, convert it into credit metrics, and then be able to underwrite it. Once you have underwritten it, you keep regularly reviewing and optimizing it, right? So this is how we have done it from a data standpoint. So it does mean that you collect more data than what would, from primary sources than what would a normal organization do on financial services. It would also mean you refer to the secondary data in a much more systematic fashion. So we've kind, for example, on the Bureau Scrub itself, we have built a scrub. On top of the scrub, we have built an AI wrapper through which optical reports shoot out. And it becomes, dumb easy, like a traffic light for people to see and understand if they can go ahead, they should have a caution or they should stop. The third is there are low margin, high frequency products which are today not being offered in financial services. For example, entities like JAR and others are trying to offer savings and liability products to the customers, but there is a big question mark on their sustainability because there's no margin in it. By building some of these anchors and having revenue already sorted by lending, we could perhaps build an anchor where we start offering liability services for which we need to innovate a bit, but without tech, we can't. So understanding data, you start offering parametric insurance services. You start offering unit-linked savings schemes. Now that's not heard of in the last mile. That's heard of in the urban included classes, right? So I would say these three elements of enablement, building intelligence, embedding intelligence, and innovating on the product and services.
Got it. Understood. No, absolutely, absolutely brilliant. I think it's a fantastic way to sort of put, how technology works.